Claire Cousins, and it's great to see you again, and I hope you've been enjoying all the videos that I've uploaded so far, and if you have, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. This is another video, an extra video. This one was filmed in October, but it probably won't be released until December. I'm going to show you what I've been up to recently. It's a project that I started and then it's got a little bit carried away. It's an addictive project, I think, and those of you like me, I don't know, you store, in my case it was materials, some beautiful batiks. I kept storing and storing and storing them, and I'd get them out and I'd stroke them, and they were my precious. And it got to the point where I thought, do you know what, I need to stop just storing them and use them and enjoy them, because otherwise they'll just get left in the drawer. So I've decided to make myself an English paper pieced quilt. I've done some before, producing smaller items, and I'll show you those in a moment. So yes, come along on the journey with me today and I'll show you what I've been up to. Okay, so this is my, well, I think it's a Queen Anne chair, which I picked up from the university auction houses. They're actually going to throw it away because it was too far damaged, but I've managed to restore it. But this is the English paper piecing I did for this chair, and I'm really chuffed with it because I actually pre-quilted it before I put it on. So there's that one. I've also done English paper piecing to create a book cover. So this is actually part of this vintage garden book cover that I've shown in the past. I've actually recycled vintage materials on that one. And then over on the other side of my workroom, I should just show you now. So on the other side of my workroom is my beloved chair that my mother left me, and I managed to find some really quite nice vintagey fabric to do English paper piercing. Oh, I think that they call this one Grandma's Garden style design, and I've actually managed to find a piece of foam and make a nice little seat pad there. But now I'm going to take you into my living room where I've been working on a bigger project. Right, this is what I'm working on, and this is currently in my living room because I'm working on it while I sit and watch the telly. And when I've got it laid on, I don't know if you can tell, but if I just move it a fraction, lift it up gently. Those of you who are into your jigsaw, you might recognise this as a jigsaw case, because what happens is these sides folds down and you can store your jigsaw away, which is really good because it means I can map out my design, as you can see on the boards, and then just select a board to sew, whilst the other board can be popped away, covered with the lid, and stored away safely. And because it's got a slightly flocked surface to hold your jigsaw pieces, it also helps hold the hexes down too. So let me talk a bit about how I'm doing this. I've got a punch. This is my punch. It's a creative memory punch. Now, I don't know whether these still exist, but the company I know is only in America still, but I believe there's still one supplier in the UK. But you can probably pick these up on eBay. So anyway, the one I've been using is the 1.5 inch punch, and I've been punching my hexes out of envelopes. So the white envelopes that you get your insurance and your bank statements in, you might recognise the design. They all got like a pattern on the inside. It's all punched from those. And the reason I've chosen to use that is, one, it's good recycling, and two, it's It's actually quite a good quality thick paper. I did find the brown envelopes are no good. It's the white top end envelopes that I've been collecting, and I've discovered I can get at least, oh, I don't know, 24 to 30, depending on the size of envelope, of these little hexes out of it. So that's what I've been doing. And then once I've actually then hand cut me batiks, because I'm actually using batiks, and as you can see, you just put that on there. So I've placed it on and I've cut round them. Now I've not always cut round them brilliantly accurately, so those people who prefer to be more accurate, sometimes you can get oh, now there's a brand, isn't there, of die cutting machine that you can actually get the die cuts to cut accurately. What I like about the batiks is that they don't fray, so it makes it, it means that it doesn't matter how tiny your edges are. In this case, on this one, you can see they're quite tiny. It won't fray, and so I've ended up with a really nice. So far, I'll show you the back of this quilt so far. I actually like the back, but at some point I will be taking all those papers out. Now, I have been inspired by a lovely lady called Kate, who has a YouTube channel called The Last Homely House. And as I say, I've been inspired by what she'd been producing, because she'd been using Kay Facet's fabric. But as I say, I'm more of a batik girl, and so I want to do something similar in the style of just a wash of colour going across. So how did I create the wash of colour? Well, I started off in the top corner and thought, well, I liked the teal, and then the teal progressed into the blue, and I liked the blue, and then the blue progressed into the green, and I just kept going. And the way I've done it is, I found it best if I, as I mentioned, if I lay it out on my mat here, you can see that I can plan ahead. So you can see here, for instance, I haven't yet sewn this one onto paper, but I actually, all of these here, I pre-prepared, popped in a little box, and then I'm sorting them out and popping them on. So every now and again I'll sit down and I'll sew some and pop them in my box. So I've got a collection of green ones there just waiting to be used. So it depends on how much I've got in between cooking or cleaning, and I might just do 2 or 3 when I'm sitting watching having a cup of tea. I'll do sort of 3 or 4 in a go, pop them in my box, build it up, and then when I've got enough, I'll lay them out. And once I've laid them out and I'm happy with them, I've then stitched them together in a strip, as you can see here. So they're all stitched together in a strip, and then I've then stitched the strip on. And the method of doing that is an overstitch. What I'll have to do, because I've got the camera in my hand, I'll stop filming and I'll come back to you in a minute. Right, okay, so once I have selected my piece of fabric and I've got my piece of paper ready, I then thread up a needle with some white thread, and this is just a very cheap polyester from a supermarket, I think. It's nothing particularly grand. And I grab the piece of fabric I want to sew. I'll actually choose that one. Like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold down one of the edges. And because it's batik, it really does fold down nicely. You can actually finger press and it'll stay there pretty much. I'm going to come up with a needle, and then I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to go down on the corner, and I'm sewing through the paper and the material. I'm going to come up through the middle. I found this is enough for this size. Obviously if you've got a bigger hexie, then you're going to need more stitching around, but I have found that I just need to do each of the corners and a spot in the middle. Now various people do it in different ways. This is a method I've chosen. It's like a basting method or tacking method. Some people glue them. I actually don't like using any type of fabric glues. And And this doesn't take too long anyway, to be honest. And when I say when you stop and have a cup of coffee, now if you've done what I've just done, which I didn't mean to do that, gone round, you can just quickly undo that. So down in the corner, up in the middle. Yeah, so they don't take long. So if you've got a whole bundle of fabrics already pre-cut, like I have, a whole bundle of paper all pre-cut, you just sit and do one or two, and they soon get produced quite quickly. And then, as I say, once you've got enough, you can start planning out your layout. And then one on the end. And then what I tend to do is I come up to a smaller stitch there, and then knot it underneath the last stitch. So I've gone under the last stitch, found the loop before it pulls away, and then catch it, and then do that again. So you've got under the last stitch, go through that loop, and then just cut it. If you use the fact that I've used tacking thread, I can just snap it, but I'll cut it with scissors. So that's pretty much each square has been pre-prepared. So once I'm happy with them, I said, now I've laid them all out here like this, I can then start sewing the actual strip. So there's one strip done. So for instance here, I would then pull this across and this across, and I would know that that is to be stitched to there, like that. So I have to, what I tend to do, I tend to get a different needle. The first needle I used was quite thick and rigid because it has to go through the papery card. This time I've actually got a very fine needle with a very fine hole, and I've chosen to use, because it's going to keep changing colour and I don't want to keep changing thread, I've gone for a cotton so I've gone for a poly cotton moon. It's a Coats moon thread, and it's just a standard grey because that's very neutral, and it covers all the colours quite nicely. So I'm going to grab the two I want to put together like that and face sides together, match up that edge I want to sew. I've already got a knot in the end, and I'm just going to go through, make sure I get nice and tight into the corner, and then I'm going to do an overstitch. And so I'm picking up one side, then I'm picking up the other side, but without picking up the paper or the card inside. It's just a tiniest little stitch, overstitch. And I'm doing that all the way along, and I might get about 8 to 10 stitches in there. The smaller you do it, the neater it looks on the face. So, and again, it doesn't take very long to do an edge like that. And then when I get to the end, I make sure I'm right into that point. You must make sure you're right into the end. And then I do a knot. So the knot might be to go through the loop. Oops, there it is. Go through the loop and then repeat. So go under the last stitch and go through that loop. And then get a pair of scissors to cut it off. And then I can just add the next one in the same manner. So I just stitch that on there and I stitch along there, and that would fold out, and I would continue. So I'd get to this point. Then when I've got to that point, this one I haven't quite finished sewing on, so we bring this round and I'll show you how you stitch this. So all you have to do is line up your edge and stitch. So let me just grab that thread I've just been using. So all you do, it's the exact same thing. I finished in the middle, so I'm going to carry on from where I left off. So it's just over stitching here, like that, Now when I get to the corner, I really need to make sure it matches up. So let me just make sure it's matching. Still over sewing. And then I'm going to have to come in a bit closer because I can't see. Again, it's important that you get right into the corner. Now this is when I then lay it flat, because what I like to do is I like to go from that corner and then I pick up that corner, pull it nice and tight, and then I go back up to the top corner. So I'm basically sewing from these two corners, grabbing that corner, and so I've actually got like a crossover there, and that is to reduce the potential of having a hole on the surface here. You don't want a hole appearing here, so I just sort of go across, go back, and I might actually do that twice if I feel it's a bit loose, and then I just change direction. I match this side up, keeping my tacking threads out of the way, so I'm matching that side up, and then I make sure that's definitely sewn. I'm going to sew that corner again, make sure it's definitely caught, and then I sew down this edge, and I continue until I get to the end. And that's how that will look. Now, as I say, I'm going to keep all the paper, because people say, oh, you can undo the paper and you can reuse them. I'm not going to. I've chosen to keep the paper in for as long as possible because, as Kate mentioned, she said if you take the papers out too early, you might distort your fabric. So I'm going to take on her recommendation, and hopefully it will be big enough to fit my bed eventually. This particular piece has only taken me 3 weeks so far, and that's just picking up every time I sit down for a cup of coffee, but I don't sit down very often for coffee. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching my latest project, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, bye bye for now.